Who do we have here? This is P.C. Ward, a constable in Manchester, England. And it looks like this is the aftermath of a mass shooting or maybe a terrorist attack. Let's watch.
Are you okay? All right, all right. Calm down, you can.
So the violence was directed towards her. I'm not sure what someone did to her, but she could be suffering from some severe internal injuries. I hope they get an ambulance on the scene soon. So, what horrors have befallen P.C. Ward? Was she shot? Stabbed? Oh, far worse than that. And once you find out what some crazed, violent suspect did to her, you'll wonder if there is punishment enough for the bastard. Just kidding. She got punched in the nose. And the other two cops on the scene are no Wyatt Earps either. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dredd to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnny Walker Dredd Show.
This is the shocking moment a police officer was left in tears and bleeding after being assaulted during a violent altercation at Manchester Airport. PC Lydia Ward described feeling absolutely terrified after being punched to the ground and suffering a broken nose in the car park of Terminal 2.
Okay, so let's not get too carried away with the language here, dude. Terrifying?
Mohammed Fakir Amaz and his brother Mohammed Imad are both facing multiple charges of assault following the incident on 23rd July last year.
Now, before we hammer Lydia too much, there were times after she got punched where at least she tried to get back in there and help subdue the suspect. That's a breath of fresh air. It sure beats dancing around the action at 2 arms length, trying to look like you're engaged while letting your partner get pummeled. That's the job of the other female cop in this story. Now, what about the male cop? He shouldn't be on the force either. Watch.
Giving evidence at Liverpool Crown Court.
Oh, and they call that attempted murder. Now, I don't know what the laws are in England, but I don't think you can do that. That man on the ground does not pose a deadly threat, especially since you're big enough that you should be able to handle him. Keep an eye on the cop, because he's going to pull another boner here in just a second.
PC Ward recalled falling to the ground and everything going black after receiving a strong blow to the face. The court heard that PC Ward and 2 colleagues had approached Mr. Amaz at a ticket machine after reports that a man matching his description had headbutted a customer in the Starbucks cafe inside Terminal 2. However, Mr. Amaz allegedly resisted and Mr. Imad is said to have intervened.
That dude had his hands behind his head and was kneeling down, and you kicked him in the stomach? Why? You had him under control, and you have another constable behind him.
Leading to what prosecutors described as a high level of violence against the officers. I was trying to get hold of Mr. Amaz's arm and bring it behind his back to cuff him, PC Ward told the jury. She explained that PC Zachary Marsden had either fallen or been pushed onto some seating, at which point Mr. Amaz allegedly kicked him.
So you can see PC Ward here going back in to help cuff the suspect. At least she didn't go off running and screaming, which also happens too often in this country.
I tried to stop him from kicking PC Marsden, she continued. The next thing I remember is him turning.
At this point, she realizes that she's been socked in the nose, and she sees the blood. Once you see the blood, you go into a post-punch trance. That's when you go into a daze. Everything seems to slow down to a crawl around you. It's all blurry. What causes this? Never having been punched before. How do I know this? I had it happen to me. Unlike PC Ward, I was in the 4th grade. I've been in enough fights now that if someone punched me, I can keep my wits about me and stay in the fight. I will say this in her favor. She waited until the cops got it under control before she completely lost her marbles. Now we're going to watch how all this unfolded, and the cops make a huge mistake within the first couple of seconds. Let's watch.
around and punching me straight in the face. I don't remember exactly where the punch landed.
Okay, so those cops walked right up behind those dudes and snuggled up real tight right away. Man, it is dangerous as hell. You don't know if they have a knife or even a gun. All they have to do is twist their body a little and they have got you. And the element of surprise works in their favor. You're too close to perceive the threat in time to react. I'm not a cop, but if I had to go in and detain these dudes, I'm not doing it like this. I'm not getting within 5 feet of them. I'll shoo bystanders away and then I'll command them to turn around and answer some questions. And if they refuse, I can then assess the situation. I have time and distance on my side. And the cops were super aggressive right out the jump. How do they know who is guilty of what? They just close in and try to cuff them. That's going to provoke an angry response from even the mildest of suspects, and these guys weren't exactly mild. Now picture this, a cop just walks up behind you and grabs your arm and tries to cuff you. What's your response? At the very least, you'll pull away, but taking a swing at the cop is not out of bounds. It's just a natural human reaction.
But I know where I was injured. I remember hitting the floor and everything just went black. I was absolutely terrified, she added. When I came to, all I could feel was blood pouring from my nose.
Okay, so these two are now going to stand off. Want to guess who wins?
I thought something had happened to my face or nose. I had no idea what exactly.
Boom, boom, and down for the count. Yeah, taking on an angry dude isn't like what you see in the movies, is it, ladies? She should give him a karate chop and send him flying across the room like you see in those woman warrior films. The superheroes or superheroines. Now, I will give her credit. She gets back up and gets back into the fight, but at no point is she of any real help.
To be honest, I was petrified. I've never experienced that level of violence towards me before. I didn't know who was going to come at me next. I was scared to go near that man again in case I got punched in the face once more.
Gee, I would love to have her as a partner when the chips are down. She simply cannot work patrol at this point. You can't have patrol officers expressing terror in the thought of facing a person throwing punches. Can you imagine her pulling over a car in East St. Louis at 3 a.m.? Because she doesn't know terrifying. The car has no plates and is dragging a muffler. Even worse, a woman is driving and has male passengers. That means one of the dudes has an active warrant. And that's the kind of stuff that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up.
PC Ward also claimed the blow had damaged her radio battery and that no one in the area came to their aid as bystanders were instead recording the incident on their phones.
Or maybe they just didn't want to help. But the truth is, it was 3 against 2. You shouldn't have had any problems controlling these dudes.
Rosemary Fernandez, representing Mr. Amaz, suggested her client had been taken aback by the officer's approach and acted in self-defense.
And they have a good claim. Sorry, but I think their actions were justified, or at least mostly. I'm not going to stand by the cops on this one.
PC Ward replied, "There was no time for a rational conversation with this man. It turned violent very quickly."
Well, perhaps if you had approached them differently, none of this would have happened. The suspects here are Arabs. The cops are white. I'm not going to stand up for them because they're white, nor because they're cops.
I don't know how he could think I was attacking him. He turned and punched me in the face. Body-worn camera footage from PC Ward capturing the incident was shown to the jury, including a scene of a colleague comforting her in the aftermath.
So you be the judge. Ask yourself, were the cops too aggressive here? Was there an opportunity to approach these men and confront them without the need for physical contact? Okay, so we have a male cop walking up to the two suspects. If I'm him, I'm thinking, these two guys are fairly good size. One is bigger than me, and I'm effectively all alone. I'll do what I can to avoid getting into any fisticuffs here because I'm outnumbered. I have no idea what kind of police move that is. And within 3 seconds, it's 2-on-1. It was always 2-on-1. And Lydia here doesn't know exactly what to do. She's not running, but she's not exactly in the fight either. So now we're going to hear from the lawyer for the two men and the mother. And for those of you who are Dominic Alexander fans, let me show you how a real spokesperson talks.
I want to start now with what sparked the incident, something that we have heard nothing about to date. Mrs. Shamim Akhtar was travelling back from a holiday in Pakistan. She was feeling unwell on the plane and as a result used the empty seat next to her to be able to sit more comfortably.
Notice how he uses the English language to communicate. His English is impeccable, and that makes his clients look good. If he went up there and said, "Those white jive tookies, they punch on my dudes," how would that make them look?
Shortly after making use of the seat, she could hear a male muttering in the row behind her. At first she paid no attention, but then the male went out of his way over the course of the next several hours to subject her to a tirade of alleged racial abuse. He repeatedly called her a bitch, he used the P word and referred to her as a P-bitch. Mrs. Akhtar for several hours of the flight was scared the male was going to become physical and assault her. Despite her appeals to the Qatar Airlines cabin crew, they did nothing to intervene. She appealed to the male to calm down, but he refused to listen, despite telling him she was unwell. The male began to call her a P-bitch again, and the male stood up behind her. He was towering over her and hurling abuse. It was a mixture of abuse in English and in Arabic.
The dude pronounces every syllable of every word. And also notice how stern he is. Almost angry, but controlled. He wants his client's side of things to be taken seriously. Now, before you think he's doing the race thing, he's actually not. Notice he mentions the Arabic part. She wasn't in a battle with Whitey. It was an Arab. And he points it out. He's actively avoiding making this about white versus Arab. That won't do his clients any good.
I will summarize some of the details because of the ongoing investigation, but police officers, who were two females and a male, approached Fahir, and then, without identifying themselves, immediately grabbed Fahir by the wrist. And I have seen, and many of you will have seen, the footage that has been broadcast by the Manchester Evening News, some of it heavily pixelated, but the context that the family wishes to provide is that if you watch closely the footage, that Fahir is immediately grabbed by the wrist, as can be seen on the CCTV. The male officer proceeds to grab Fahir by the neck, and it is alleged that he hits Fahir's head into the ticket machine, at which point the other son, Ahmad, asked the police officer to move his hand from Fahir's neck, as he was not resisting arrest. Ahmad and his mother...
My only quibble is him saying alleged. It's your client's story. It's their claim. Make it for them. When you say alleged, I get the feeling that you're not telling the whole truth.
Shamim was shocked at the unnecessary aggression and violence, alleged violence, shown from the start. There was no immediate attempt to speak to Fahir, to ask him to step aside, to caution him, or to simply say, "Can we speak to you for a second?" The family appreciates you have seen leaked footage with pixelation of the top of vital events as they unfold. However, this is what the context of what took place. When Ahmad asked the police officer to remove his neck hold, it is alleged by him and his mother and others that the male officer then proceeded to punch Ahmad twice in the side of his head, at which point Ahmad falls onto the ground.
Do you see how his use of the word alleged just undercuts the bite in his story? But that's the only quibble I have. He's doing an excellent job of making his clients seem like victims. And at no point does this man make the event about himself, like Dominique did. Remember Dominique crying about how he has to endure racism and threats and how he has no choice but to play the race card because he lives it every day? Now picture this man defending Carmelo Anthony during that press conference rather than Fuzznut's Baby Shaker. Can you picture how that could have made it far easier for the public to at least give Carmelo a chance?
Mrs. Actor also falls to the ground as the officer pulls her and Ahmad down due to the fact that she was holding Ahmad from behind. The officer, whilst punching Ahmad, pushes her to the ground, and she looked up and saw the officer firing his taser at Ahmad, at which point she screamed, "They've killed my son."
Whilst punching Ahmad. Whilst. Dominique can't even spell that word. Now, these boys may be guilty of sin. I don't know. I didn't follow the trial, and I don't have any interest in it, given that this occurred in the UK. I keep my nose out of their affairs. But I thought this would be a good lesson for all of us in how badly Team Carmelo fouled up their public relations strategy. Like my video and subscribe to my channel.